and hopefully everybody in this area is hunkered down and safe at this point. So again, we're going to keep on giving you the vantage point from here, but that's what it's looking like for now. We're getting one of those really strong wind gusts right now, so yeah, just it's hard to stand up. So we'll go ahead and send it back to you from Cross City in Dixie County. Greg, back to you. You take a look at the light posts over that way. You might be able to see that they don't have the tops of them, those glass tops. The actual lights are gone. There would normally be a Town of Perry kind of banner on that light post. Well, that's all gone, but that's not from what we've seen so far with Helene approaching. That was from previous hurricanes. They've had a couple different hurricanes hit them hard here in the Town of Perry and here in Taylor County in the last year. Just now, we are getting word that the AP Associated Press has called this race for Rick Scott. So Rick Scott has won this U.S. Senate race another 6 years in the United States Senate. So that will obviously be disappointing news for folks here. Clean out your gutters. It's more important than ever right now, because if there's all kinds of brush and stuff in those gutters like this, all it takes is for an ember to hit that and light your gutters and then your roof and then your house on fire. Those two women, along with their father, suspects in this case, all died during that shootout with deputies here last Friday night. And that former stepmother, she told me she believes all of this could have been prevented.
I heard it when the magnolia tree fell. I heard it fall. Took the awning out and took it all the way across the top of the building, laid it down in the back parking lot back there.
Just a year after Hurricane Idalia, with a new window and a new roof, Linda Evans is ready again.
So I feel like it's fairly safe. I don't see any reason to leave.
She'll be riding out the storm in her coffee shop / home.
This is literally my living room.
During Idalia and then Debbie last month, she provided an essential source of caffeine for first responders.
People were coming from out of town to help guard against the looting at night and so forth and so on, and they were all very good. They kept check on the building here. They would come by, but yeah, I had coffee, and what I had I was more than willing to share with people.
Before, she lost power for 3 weeks, and if that happens again, she'll keep the cold brew going.
I won't turn on the espresso machine, but I will keep everything cold and it'll be ready.
So she'll be sticking around here during the storm, and her window will be ready for those who need it.
The best thing to do is just come pull on the door. If you come pull on the door and it opens, I'll be happy to help you.
And people here in this community of Perry and Taylor County, very storm weary, as you saw there. They've dealt with a lot, but they've got their preparations almost down to a science now, and they really are leaning on each other as they head into yet another storm here. They have prepared for the worst, but they tell me they hope they don't get the worst. Reporting live in Taylor County, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News. Vicki Parker Cherry takes a moment away from her work to pray.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior.
And her faith guides her belief that an unborn baby's life should be protected.
The Bible says that I knew you before you were formed in the womb, and that should be the safest place.
Parker Cherry is in the chapel at House of Hope Orlando, a faith-based home for troubled teens. But it's the unborn she's also been advocating for, and she believes a 6-week abortion ban going into effect in Florida is a huge answer to her prayers.
A huge victory for Florida, for everywhere, that we are going to protect those lives of those innocents.
Danielle Talafas still keeps a framed picture of her baby Nathaniel's ultrasound right above where she and her husband sleep each night. Talafas says after finding out during her pregnancy Nathaniel had a severe medical condition that he likely wouldn't survive, even with extreme medical intervention right after birth, she and her husband decided to end the pregnancy.
When you come across parents that have children that are terminally ill, you frequently hear them say they'd do anything to take away their child's pain. I was given that option. My baby never felt a day of pain in his life.
Talafas says she had no clue there was any problem with the baby until after 20 weeks into her pregnancy. She believes the choice should be up to the family and her doctors.
I've never called a politician to ask him what I should do for my dental care. I've never called a politician to ask if I should get my blood work done this year or not.
Reliving her family's difficult decision is tough, but she says it's worth it if it can help other women who she now worries won't have the options she had.
I'll just keep sharing this story so that people understand other reasons why women might have an abortion outside of they just didn't want the pregnancy, because I wanted Nathaniel, I really did.
Parker Cherry believes life should be preserved, even in cases of rape, incest, and when the mother's health could be at risk. The new law of the land in Florida gives her hope, at least for now.
I'm a little concerned because in November, there's that amendment going on the ballot, and that amendment will do away with any protection we have.
In Seminole County, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.
We have a new segment. We're taking a look at issues important to voters up and down the I-4 corridor in an area that is truly key to winning Florida in November and the nation. We're calling it Your Community, Your Vote, because in the end, let's call it as it is, it's all about your community and what you choose to do in the voting booth. Right now, the economy and concerns about inflation remain a top concern for so many voters. You know, a recent government report shows this: inflation is slowing down. A University of Michigan survey shows consumer sentiment jumped up in the last 2 months by 29%, the most it has done that since 1991. But some in Central Florida continue to struggle with costs of living, including putting food on the table. Political reporter Jeff Allen looks into that struggle, which could have an impact on how people vote.
By the time this truck rolled in, there were already about 100 cars lined up, waiting for what that truck is about to deliver. Some drivers lined up just after midnight. It's a first-come, first-serve food drive. Amy Wilkins is in the fourth line of cars from the front, ready to wait as long as she needs to.
It's cold when you come in the morning time, but then later on it gets warm.
Wilkins says with higher grocery prices, she can no longer afford the food she needs.
I try to add up in my head how much it costs for the groceries, and whatever is there, and I don't think I can take it, I have to put it back.
Wilkins isn't alone. Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida says searches for food assistance online have doubled in the last year. So cost of living is on the minds of many Central Floridians as we head into the 2024 election.
The economy got to get better because the prices are going up. It's hard when you have a fixed income.
About 2 years ago, Wilkins began coming to this twice-monthly food drive at Patmos Chapel in Apopka. Church volunteers load up trunks full of several boxes of fresh produce, frozen meat, enough food for a couple of weeks. Arnell Smalley says demand picked up during the pandemic and has only grown since.
When God said, you know, when they were hungry, we gave them food. When they were thirsty, we gave them something to drink. And that's what we're trying to do here. When people are hungry, people are thirsty, we want to make sure that we're giving them ample opportunity to come through the line.
Smalley says the church went from serving about 200 families to about 600 families. Most drivers here aren't picking up food for just themselves. Wilkins shares her food with several other families.
Even when I'm ready to deliver food, I'm like, Amy, you got to do this, you know, get up, let's go. They need it just as much as you need it.
Wilkins says because of health problems, she could no longer work as a caretaker at a hospital, but she never lost her urge to help others.
I care about people. I try to help whoever need help. Friends that eat meat and stuff, whatever meat I have, I give it to them, and whatever food I don't use, I give it to them. So it's a helping hand.
Wilkins now stocked up with food for her and some of her neighbors, enough for about 2 weeks. But with the fluctuating cost of gas, it's still a struggle. She can't do this forever. She says prices need to come down.
Some of the time when I fill my car with gas, $50 worth of gas, and I have to make my runs to take food for other people, you know, I'm like, God, you got to send me a blessing.
Today, that blessing received. Her future uncertain.
Without helping hands, we won't make it in life.
And organizers of that food drive say they used to limit it to about 5 to 6 families per person of amount of food that they can pick up, but now they restrict that even more just to make sure there's enough food to go around. Beth.
Jeff, I got to ask you, what are the political implications of the economy on the 2024 race if it's Trump versus Biden again?
Well, it could have huge implications. Right now, there's been some really strong poll numbers that have come out showing consumer consumer sentiment is improving, and we've even had some strong economic numbers come out, but there's still a large amount of the electorate that really blames Biden for what they feel is not a good enough economy. So we'll just have to wait to see how that plays out as we head to November.
I have to ask you, when you see the drone shots of all the vehicles lined up, Jeff, what did you think when you first saw those images?
You know, each and every day, if you're fortunate enough to not have to worry about putting food on the table, it's easy to take that for granted, right? When you look at that line of cars, especially from that view from above, it just shows you how many people, the reality of it, how many people struggle with that each and every day. And that's just the reality of it. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out when people head to the polls and they vote based on what they're living each and every day.
And I know so many people watching tonight nodding their head, difficult to put food on the table with some of the stuff that we're seeing. Thank you so much for that report. Political reporter Jeff Allen with tonight's Your Community, Your Vote.
You know, during the month of November, which is National Veterans and Military Families Month, we are recognizing the service and sacrifice of those in our communities that protect our freedom. And that work often begins at a very young age. Our Jeff Allen shows us how a local high school is preparing its students for life by instilling military discipline.
In uniform, please make your way to the courtyard for a picture again.
Today is a day that only happens once a year.
We take one photo each year in the fall semester to make sure we can kind of capture the moment.
So every single piece of these JROTC cadets' uniforms must be perfect.
How are we doing today?
Outstanding, sir!
I thought so. All right.
Here, moving those taller to the back for the picture requires a military formation.
If you're taller than cadet in front of you, tap them on the shoulder and move forward.
Cadet Peyton Scott leading the attention to detail. And then, finally, when everything is just right, this moment in Mount Dora High School JROTC history is captured in time. Lead instructor Major Andrew Scott on why the details matter.
And building citizens is really all about attention to detail, helping others, paying attention to those little things, because the little things matter. And if you can trust yourself to do the little things, you'll be able to trust yourself to do the big things later.
Cadet Scott successfully challenged his fellow cadets to carry out a collective 8,000 hours of community service in the last year.
Giving up those hours of my life just to make someone else's life way easier is totally worth it for me and every other cadet here in our program.
JROTC's goal was not to recruit high school students for the U.S. military, but to provide the students a discipline they can apply to their life and whatever career path they decide on.
High schoolers, as you know, teenagers, they can get to some stuff that they will later regret, but through this program, I eventually learned that, none of that stuff is really necessary.
Along with increasing the Corps' community service, Cadet Scott also helped recruit double the incoming freshmen to the Corps this year. His combined efforts helped him earn the honor of Air and Space Force JROTC Cadet of the Year.
Such a mind-boggling number to be number one out of 17,000. But after that, my mind instantly went to how big of an impact this could have on our program.
At a memorial that honors 3 Mount Dora High School graduates who've died while serving our country, each day, Scott and other cadets put a flag in place there.
Peace and arms.
And lower it to half-staff. It's a stark reminder of the sacrifice of military service and these cadets' service to the community.
Freedom isn't free, so those people have to keep that freedom free for everybody, whether that's through the armed services or supporting your community here locally.
In Mount Dora, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.
It's what it's all about, 8,000 hours of community service. Did you hear that? Cadet Peyton Scott is a senior, plans to enroll in a U.S. Air Force Academy next year as he embarks on a career in the military.